Amas, you can Malik.
So welcome everyone. Bosco, if you can just stop sharing for a bit.
Okay.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to, I think, our 17th Zoom session. Tonight we are looking at level 2 transcript itself and why it's like we are trying to break the myth about education on level 2. And I hope you will enjoy as we get a presentation from our Regional Development Officer for Rugby Africa, Johnbosco, and Peris, Mukoko, a director at Kenya Rugby Union, and again an educator in officiating. Karibuni nyote. Asante. Bosco?
Thank you very much, Kwambo, for the introduction. Welcome everyone. We hope that you're going to give us company for the next 1 hour or so. Basically, this session, as George has said, it's about discussing the level 2 transcript, coaching 15th transcript. So myself and Peris will take you through this. I'll start, and at some point I'll let in Peris to take you through a couple of slides. First of all, before we begin, I would like to, because I received a number of questions from some people who are interested in joining, that is not a level 2 course. I would say perhaps something like a pre-level 2 course, so that those who are interested and even continuing candidates of level 2 can clearly understand what the transcript is all about, because the transcript is actually the assessment tool for a coach who is going through a level 2 training. So I thought it's important that I clarify that. And having said that, the next thing I would like to say is I would like to commend Kenya Rugby Union for having a training and education department which looks after the training of personnel. As you are aware that the building capacity is very important for a union, because players need to be looked after to develop and to become better players, and for our team to play better and become very, very competitive within the union and even regionally and internationally. So I'll go straight to share my screen. I will have to restart this. Malik, sharing has stopped. Perhaps maybe there's something, but I need to restart it again. Let me just try. Can you see my screen?
Yes, we can.
Okay, thanks. Good. So let's look at what are the aims of this level 2 coaching course. And as you can see on the screen, this course contributes to the development of coaches who are able to motivate and improve the abilities of their players through the creation of a safe, inclusive, and positive learning environment, and the delivery of age and stage appropriate coaching. So this is what we'd like to achieve at the end of the day. And it's a common approach. So it's not just for coaches within Kenya, it's for coaches all over the world. So that then there's a clear way which we can actually look after our coaches as they develop and become better coaches. But more importantly, and related to this particular presentation, is to provide the opportunity to achieve World Rugby accreditation, so that then you are World Rugby accredited, and having this accreditation allows you to coach rugby anywhere in the world. And understanding, like I said before, understanding the transcript is very, very important, because it's actually the assessment tool that your educator will use to be able to accredit you. Who qualifies to join a level 2 coaching 15s course? So someone in possession of a World Rugby Coaching 15s level 1 with at least 1 season of coaching would qualify. What happens at KRU is, and this is common all over other unions, is invitations are sent out and potential candidates are asked to apply or to show interest, and they're invited to go through the course. So this is some of the criteria that Kenya Rugby Union will look for as they seek to admit you to go through the course. However, we can also have coaches and players with a considerable knowledge and experience of the game wishing to continue in a coaching role. So a player or a coach may not really be, taken coaching such actively, but then they have got that interest at one point in their rugby career to become an active coach or more involved as a coach. And therefore, these ones can be allowed to the course. They meet the preset criteria and they're admitted to the course and they go through the course and they actually be accredited to become coaches. However, they may sit with their accreditation and continue playing in case of a player, but at one point, maybe when they retire, they would like to become active coaches, then that would allow them to progress already with the accreditation. What would be the outcomes of the course? The reason for sharing this particular slide is because these outcomes form part of the transcript. It is the same outcomes that are used to outline the transcript that is going to be used to assess you. So understanding the outcomes of the course helps a lot for a candidate to be able to know what areas the educator would use to be able to accredit them. So as you're going to see when we put up the slide with the transcript, you're going to see that the same outcomes that we are using here form the main parts of the transcript. So I wouldn't go one by one, but of course this information is very much available, and anyone who wishes to get access of this can always get it through the Training and Education Department within Kenya Rugby Union. But before we look at the transcript, let's look at what kind of assessment does World Rugby recommend for those aspiring to become coaches. But this is not just for coaches alone. This also is used for all other strands, all other forms of training that World Rugby administers. We use what is called competency-based assessment. Competence-based assessment puts emphasis on the learner. It's learner-centered. So when the educator is taking you through the course, it's not about him telling you what you should do or what you shouldn't do. It's not about him telling you the right and the wrong, but it's a way of us, discovering for yourself, self-discovery of what should be the best practice. And of course, the educator will be there to guide you, to facilitate learning, to create scenarios that will challenge you to be able to discover more about coaching as outlined by World Rugby. So what happens is that every part of the criteria has got 3 parts. And the first part is not yet competent. This is when you perform below the minimum standards. There are minimum standards that are set. So if you're below those minimum standards, then you're going to receive an NYC. If you perform at the minimum standards, you're going to receive a competent. And if you're going to perform beyond the competency standards, then you're going to receive an excellent. what happens? If you're competent or excellent, then you become accredited. Or that part of a criteria, you pass that part of the criteria. As much as it's not about pass or fail, but then competent and excellent allows you to progress. But if you're not yet competent, then they will give you another opportunity. Like I've said, it's not a pass and fail. They'll give you another opportunity to go back and redo the part, or have them observe you again as you're doing a task or whatever is related to that particular part of the criteria, so that then you can be able to move from not yet competent to competent or excellent. It's also important at this point to mention, what is it? What is this competence? Competence is a task carried out to a predetermined standard. So when the educator is observing you, you already knows what you should achieve. So for example, if we give, if I would say, if I give you a task to juggle 3 balls, and I say, or the instructions are, you should do at least 1 rotation with all 3 up in there at the same time. So if you have 1 ball and you throw it up and catch, toss it up and catch as it comes down, am I really going to say that you're competent as defined by the criteria? No, because the instructions are all the 3 at the same time. So it's a similar approach that we use to define every other criteria, depending on which strand you're taking part in. In this case, it's coaching. So as you're going to see on the transcript, that will be the basis upon which this criteria is drafted. I would also like to mention that this learning, or this aspect of being not yet competent or excellent, as you can see on the diagram below, it's a journey which can go either direction. So you may start as excellent, but then if you don't practice, you may find yourself going back to not yet competent. So if your educator looks at you now and you perform very well, then you're satisfied and go and don't put in practice, or don't do whatever you're supposed to do as per the instructions and the competence requirements, then you may find yourself slipping back to not yet competent. And the same way, you can start as not yet competent, but still find yourself as excellent. So it's a continuous process that you have to keep practicing. Once you get accredited, that it doesn't really make you a level 2 coach for life. After every 3 years, you're supposed to update. You're supposed to go through another assessment, or what we call a quality assurance process, so that then we can ensure you remain relevant and you keep updated with the current trends. Because as you know, the game is growing, the game is evolving. So there are new things coming in every now and then. So you can't just sit back and say, look, I've got a level 2 and now I'll be a level 2 and that will be my status for as long as I'm in rugby. So constant updating is very, very important. So let's look at the transcript. It's important for learners and participants coming to a level 2 course to understand that assessment starts even before you sit the course. The course is a 2-day face-to-face seminar, and then there's an assessment that goes on after you have sat the 2-day face-to-face seminar, where the educator will come and watch you as you coach a team, as you deliver a session, or perhaps you're having a competitive match against an opponent. And then they will continue assessing you until they're satisfied that you're good enough to receive accreditation. So when we show the transcript, you'll be able to see what happens before, what happens during, and what happens after the course, as per the criteria, as per the transcript. what happens during the face-to-face course? We're going to have tasks, we're going to have discussions, we're going to have practical coaching tasks, micro coaching sessions. The educator will assign you tasks and ask you to present and ask you to discuss in groups or in pairs and come up with solutions or give ideas. So what will happen is, as that is happening during the 2-day workshop, you're still being assessed. So the assessment started before. Now during the 2-day interaction, face-to-face, the assessment is continuing. And afterwards, when we come to visit you in your own environment, then again, assessment will continue. So right now, we would like to discuss the transcript. It's in various parts. And to begin, I would ask Peris to take us through part A of the transcript, which has got 1 to 8 criteria or standards that you're supposed to achieve. Peris, over to you.
Thank you very much, Bosco. Good evening, all. As highlighted by Bosco in regards to what you do pre, during, and after the course, this is something that you do now before the course. And it's actually sent to you prior through the union. So after you've gotten the invitation and you've been nominated, you are sent the prerequisites, which have the various links from World Rugby, in which you're required to complete your online Rugby Ready, complete your online laws, first aid in rugby, concussion for general public, introduction to coaching. You complete the online key factor analysis of coaching, functional rule analysis, and the online conditioning for rugby pre-level 1. This is, of course, you're guaranteed to be excellent because it's an online course. So completing the first site of the prerequisite of the part A is an automatic 100%, which I believe that all participants can actually get excellent before they go into the course. What you'll only be required to do is either present the certificates to your educator, either during the course, or you share them with the educator when via email, and automatically your educator will start by filling in your name, the assessment date, and the venue and the assessor, and will have already completed the first page of your transcript. Bosco?
Okay, thank you, Peris. Remember, if you have any questions, kindly you can type them on the chat, and Malik will, at the end of the session, will be able to read them out and we'll be able to tackle them. So the second part, as I mentioned before, when we look at the outcomes, as you can see, the transcript is based on those outcomes. So each part, you can see there's part A, B, C, D, and so on. So each part then has been broken down to those the standards that you are supposed to to display as you're going through the course and as you're delivering your sessions as a coach, the practical delivery. And I won't really go into each one of them, but we'll just pick one, for example, and discuss it. For example, if you're talking about 9, part B, 9, identifies the core values of rugby and describes how these values can be put into practice in coaching. So for example, your educator may put you in groups or in pairs during the face-to-face interaction and ask you to discuss the core values and describe how they can be put into practice during coaching. And then have you present. So once you do that, as you're doing that, he will be observing, and he can either mark you competent or excellent or not yet competent, depending on how you present and how you are able to identify and describe these core values. As just as an example, if you're looking at planning, for example, prepares, that is part 11, prepares a session plan with appropriate content, facilities, equipment, and timing relative to abilities and development levels, that is age and stage of the players. So this could be a takeaway assignment after your 2-day face-to-face. The educator may ask you now, go and prepare a session plan. And then you send it back to him. Then he will have a look at it and you'll be able to see that in your plan, the content is appropriate. You have outlined the kind of facilities you're going to use, the equipment, the timing in terms of when to start, maybe issues to do with pre-season or off-season and so on. So then he can, after that, he can, if he's satisfied that, yeah, it's beyond what they expected, then you can be excellent, or you can be competent, or you can be NYC, depending on what actually he sees and how he assesses that your presentation of our session plan. When we look at the delivery, remember the delivery is a major part of the course, because that is why then the educator will have to come to your environment and watch you deliver a session, a normal session that you deliver on a training day, or also come to a game where you're the coach and the team is playing in a competitive match, maybe a league match, and they will be able to see how you've organized your teams in terms of defense, attack, the kind of decisions you make, the kind of feedback you give, and so on. So that becomes very, very important. And we can look at one aspect that usually lets down people a lot, like part 18, delivers to the allocated times as per the session plan. So if you're going to say in your session plan that you're going to have an introduction of 10 minutes and you go over and do it in 25 minutes, then definitely they will mark you not yet competent. So here is about precision, is about, being a coach who understands the demands of the game and understands the ethical behavior and how you should actually plan effectively to achieve maximum results. Maybe I can move to the next one and look at 20, for example, reviews the practice session with players and all peer coaches. So do you organize a review session with your players and the other members of the technical staff, so that then you can be able to feedback your players, and also you as a coach can receive feedback, so that again, when you run on the pitch next time, you have looked at your areas of weakness, and you also look at your areas of strength, and be able to plan accordingly. So this goes on and on. If you look at communication, for example, 23 gives effective and specific feedback and explanations. I mean, if you appear at halftime and you go like, my guys, I ways, something like that. So do you expect that the educator will give you anything more than a not yet competent? So we'd like to hear effective feedback that is able to help players to be able to, to improve their performance. So it is very, the kind of expectation that this transcript gives is what would call best practice, so that then you're able to give, you can be able to help your players to grow in a safe and a progressive environment. However, it's not something to scare you. As you can see, and perhaps if you get a copy of this, I'm sure it can be available to you. You'll be able to see that this is something that you can actually achieve. So it just depends on following what has been outlined and applying the skills that are required to go with it. Yeah, so same thing with H and I, which are the last two parts. As you can see, challenge players to improve, demonstrate safe coaching at all times. Safety is key in rugby. We want to protect our players. We want to protect everyone involved in the game. So very important. If you look at 39, for example, starts and finishes with age appropriate and stage appropriate warm up and cool down. So you can see we are not, we just run on the pitch and do the whatever kind of warm up that you would like to do. What kind of relationship exists between you and your strength and conditioning coach? And is the strength and conditioning coach under your instructions? Because we are assuming that you are the head coach, for instance. Are they doing the correct thing in terms of warm up, cool down, and any other activities that they may have to do with players? I would like now to ask Peris to take us through this last part of the transcript.
Thank you, Bosco. For the last part of the transcript, it's actually an ongoing journey. So it's not that you'll either pass or fail. As highlighted in the previous slide, it's more of a traffic light. So you're either excellent, which is green, competent, which is amber, or not yet competent, which is red. And the transition is whereby you move from a not yet competent to competent and excellent. And this can only be achieved if all your 41 criteria have actually either been ticked as competent or excellent. As earlier stated in part A of the prerequisite, under the 8 sections, it's easy for you to actually attain all excellent. So the other progresses for the pending ones, it's an ongoing process in how you can actually be able to tick the boxes and get competent or excellent. And remember, it's more of a 2-year journey. So you cannot just hang on to the transcript for more than 2 years, because if you do that, you'll still have to resit the course from the beginning, because we have to remember that the laws of the game keep on evolving as time goes by. And from there, you're able to understand how is it that you're able to move and get your accreditation. The other thing is that for you to ensure that you understand the importance of this course is that you always have to update your courses regularly through the online prerequisites, in which you're able to find the different tabs of training passport, where you can have interactive learning resources under the game for all online quizzes. And then you're also able to understand the laws, coaching, and seeing how to go about it. And as well as the key factor analysis, which are very important for a coach, and understanding the technical content. All this actually found on the World Rugby Passport site. And through this, at least your educator will be able to walk with you through the journey. If you still have a not yet competent, you simply just invite out the educator during either a training session, in which one of the prerequisites can actually be achieved from a not yet competent to a competent base, or even during your game day. So you make arrangements with your educator, and the educator will actually walk with you through the journey of ensuring that you get to either competent or excellent. Over to you, Bosco.
Yeah, thank you very much, Peris. So these are some of the useful tools that can be very, very of course, useful to you as as you go through this journey, and generally for all of us involved in the game. So World Rugby has created a passport site, which is an online learning tool, and all the information is found on this website. There's a lot of information, from coaching to officiating to medical, SNC, and so on. But for us, I think as we are interested in coaching, this is a site that can really help you to develop, to keep updating, to remain relevant, to remain up to date with all the information that World Rugby, is coming up with, all the current trends that World Rugby is recommending. You can have question and answer sessions here. You can interact with some experts. World Rugby also shares videos and experts' opinion on different aspects and information about coaching. So it's very, very important that you register on this site if you haven't already, and keep on reading the content that is available. And this is also the same site where you're going to find the self-check exams, tests that will test your knowledge about your coaching and other relevant information that is key to be able to make you a successful coach. What I would like to say at this point is that, like Malik mentioned at the beginning, is we need to demystify this aspect or this notion that, it's something that cannot be achieved. So like everything else, it requires discipline. But if you maybe, along the way, you may find maybe you're struggling and you got a tendency of giving up, it may really turn out to be very, very, very difficult for you. So what is important is that the training and education department and the educators and the workforce that is part of that training and education is there to support. As we said, yeah, the educator will not tell you to do, they will not tell you right and wrong, but they will support you because it's a journey. So what you need is to play your part and make sure that you meet all parts of the criteria, and definitely you'll be able to receive your accreditation. Thank you very much. That was what we had for you for today. Back to you, is it Malik or Kwambo? Would like to take any questions there, if there are any.
Bosco?
Yes.
Now, if I've got a candidate, Peris mentioned this 2-year, if it's older than 2 years. I have a candidate who did the initial course 3 years ago, but took a year to then get the transcript done. Then I've been struggling to upload the transcript for the last, well, I guess you can say a year and a half. What happens then? Because do I still upload that transcript and then they'll have to redo their level 2? Because they are a successful level 2 candidate.
Yes. Yeah, so the timelines, you talked about a year that they took to complete the assessment.
To get competent,
Yes, so you've actually, according to your assessment, this candidate is competent or excellent, whatever, all right? But not yet competent. They are competent or excellent, all right?
Yes.
So is it a technical problem that stops you from submitting their transcript?
I think it was a technical problem. Or either on my end, in terms of understanding whether it was Adobe to be used, etc., what it was to be used. So do I still go back, get the latest bit and upload it, and the transcript will still be accepted through the system?
Yes, that's possible. So what you need to do is, because it's not the candidate's fault that by the end of 2 years, they were not able to receive their certificate. So yes, it's just a question of receiving a certificate after the transcript has been submitted.
Correct.
So it's just a question of raising that issue with your training and education department so that they are aware that there are technical challenges that are beyond you or the candidate's ability. And that's why the candidate cannot...
I had raised it.
And
I received a response from our T&E department.
Yeah. So I think the most important bit for you is to reassure the candidate that we have everything ready for you. However, give us time as we tackle this technical problem.
I did tell them that. Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Welcome.
Just to add on that, Paul, is it okay if we can do it together, the transcript? Since he's competent, so we just upload it again. Yeah. So we can meet and we can sort it out.
When Bosco and Peris were talking, I was trying to do that, but I've come at.
Okay. that we can try together, and maybe next week.
Yeah, Malik, I'll catch up with you sidebar. Maybe after Mondays. Yeah, I have to get relicensed.
Okay, that will be done.
After Monday, we'll chat. Okay, thanks.
Bosco, thank you for the presentation. This is Mary. I have a couple of questions. So number one, so number one, do you get to choose your trainer, or the union allocates a trainer to you?
Okay.
Should I go through all of it? I go through all of it, then you answer them, or you?
Yes, just go ahead.
Then second, if you look at the season for the women's, it's, what can I say? We don't have like, first of all, I can't say we have like a constant calendar that you can plan and work with. So with regards to 15s, one of the things we only have 15 legs, probably apart from floodlights, probably when we're preparing either for an international match or for Elgon, if there's an Elgon that year. So in terms of appraising a coach who's coaching, let's say, a ladies 15 aside, maybe they're going to, the clubs will be asked to train your team for a month. Then they go into some place, then they are, or whoever is called up, and basically the season for 15 days. So how are you able to appraise? Because now I don't have a full season from off season to pre-season to season to, you know, to the break. How do we address that? Then the other point, if you are my trainer and you're trying to assess me, if I'm not the head coach, I'm the assistant coach, which means I'm taking instructions and directions from the head coach. It means you might not fully see my abilities or my capabilities because I'm working under someone else. So how does that work? Those are the main things I had to add questions about.
Okay, thank you, Mary. For the first question, do you choose a trainer, or does the union allocate a trainer for you, or an educator for that matter? Now, what happens is that there are quite a number of educators in the union currently, trained by the union. So it is up to the training and education department to make use of that available workforce. So what happens is that they advertise for a course, or rather they say, okay, good. They show they give the calendar, or they share their calendar of activities. And what happens is that trainers or educators are supposed to choose the courses that they're available for. So what happens is that, remember, you also as an aspiring coach or participant, you may be available this time and not whatever other time that is shown on the calendar. So what happens is that you may find that Bosco has been assigned the course that you're available for. So that means then I'll be your educator. So it is not a question of you choosing an educator or a trainer, because a trainer and educator can't run a course for one person. So it's a minimum of 8, and the union, for economical and professional reasons, they may want to stick to that particular condition. So it is very, very difficult for a participant to choose a trainer or an educator for their courses. So, but however, if for some reason or another, a trainer may not be able to continue with you, then the union, in consultation with the trainer and who is to replace the trainer, then can have that done and the trainer changed, the educator changed for you. But those has to be under very special circumstances. So we'd like to encourage candidates to be open-minded and to understand that all these trainers and educators receive the same kind of training, and they're able to assist and facilitate learning to all participants who may be interested in pursuing a level 2 course. I hope that is clear, Mary, before I move to the next one.
Yes, that's clear. That's clear. Thank you.
So for the 15th season, look, if it's not possible to have a women's side that you can work with, depending on the criteria set by World Rugby, the number of sessions and so on, nothing stops you from selecting another team that is available for you. I remember there was one coach who was coaching Nigeria national team, but he's South African, and he was going for a level 3 course. So Nigeria national team is not very consistent. And other than the Rugby Africa competitions that they participate in, where they play 1 or 2 games in a year, or in a season, then the rest of the time they are not really active. So he had to choose a team in South Africa to work with so that he can be able to go through his level 3 coaching course and get accredited. So likewise, you can choose even a men's team. Nothing stops you from doing that. So it's not really a must that you must work, you have to work with the team that you coach. If I'm coaching a team that only plays 7s, but I require a 15th certificate, then I can choose a team that is closer to where I am or that's convenient for me to work with. So that is allowed. And then once you receive your accreditation, you may go back to coach the team that you've been coaching or whatever team that you have an engagement with. Is that clear?
But that's fine, I understand that. So basically you're saying I can coach another team even if I move to Tanzania, Rwanda.
Yes.
Okay, well, logistically.
But remember then it also depends on who your trainer is and where they are. Because you can't, if I'm your trainer or educator, you cannot leave me here and go and coach a team in Rwanda. It won't work that way. So it has to be in agreement with the trainer and the educator, and it must be convenient to both of you.
But then again, Bosco, honestly, if you're looking at the bigger picture, we are trying to develop in this country, in our country, we're trying to develop the women's.
Yes.
So imagine if I move to a certain club, I started coaching those boys, they start performing. Sometimes the point of if you bring up a team, the thing of again moving back, it might be a challenge. So I think again, basically, you will be pushing me out of the women's to continue bringing up boys, whereas as women we are suffering. Yet we should look at how we can build up more women coaches, more women players in that line. I don't know if you're getting my concern.
I get your point, and I'm not saying that you should neglect or you should overlook women teams. What I just said is that if there's a challenge that doesn't allow you to work with a woman's team to receive your accreditation, for the purposes of the accreditation, you may find there's a challenge depending on how the season is organized, or if now look at the way the women play, it's franchises. So if you're not coaching one of the franchises, then you may not be able, you may not be in a position, to follow up your assessment using a women's 15th team. So I'm just saying where there's a challenge, then you may look for another option. Sorry, do we still have Mary?
Yes, I'm still there, but I lost you towards the end of what you're saying. But okay, I've gotten your point. Your point.
Yes. So please don't run away from the women's coaching. You still need you very much in that area. So, and the last one is assistant coach. You say you're the assistant coach. Now, yes. when you're invited to a course, you're invited to undergo a level 2 training. So it doesn't matter. It's not a question of to come to a level 2, you must be the head coach of a team. No, that is not the case. So if I'm your educator and I'm coming to watch you deliver a session or during a competitive game, then on that particular day, you would be the one delivering. So we've agreed that I'll come on Thursday or Tuesday, you'll be one running that session. So your status within the coaching hierarchy does not really matter. So long as when I'm available, then you are the one running a session. And when I ask for session plans and season plans and diaries and so on, you're able to prepare them. And remember, as you've seen on the transcript, with the transcript also imagines a situation where there's a coaching staff and how you relate with these other coaches. So being able to be in good rapport with your head coach and the head coach assigning you duties, maybe making in charge of backs or defense or attack, and we can narrow down to that particular aspect. I can just come in when you are running a session on attack and watch you because that is your responsibility within the team. Is that clear?
Crystal clear. Thanks so much, Bosco. Asante.
Okay, thanks.
Well, Bosco, we do have a question. First, I'd like to recognize the presence of Chairman of Kenya Rugby Union, Roadblocks. He's here with us. We also have Zilwe Henry Malo from Botswana, who's also part of this session. Just want to say karibu to both of them. We have a comment and question from the Chairman of the Kenya Rugby Union, Roadblocks.
Yes.
He says, hi, Bosco and Peris. Thanks for the good presentation. As educators, trainers, what has been your experience in conducting these courses? The general sentiment is that many coaches are unable to qualify, or are there blocks along the way? You'd also like to invite other educators to chip in, but I think if the questions, you can proceed to answer them.
Do you still have Paul Odera here?
Bosco, I am here. What do you need from me?
Would you kindly respond, because I know you've handled a couple of courses. So yes, there is a feeling within the fraternity that it's like there are some blocks because coaches come in, start, but they don't ever get accredited.
I think there are two parts to answer that question. One, there are coaches who, there's a perception from coaches from different quarters that particularly the level 2 courses seem to have roadblocks. Whether these roadblocks are real, imagined, or perhaps they do exist due to certain challenges. What I know has been a challenge is that the Kenya Rugby Union has advertised courses at the beginning of every year. Once they advertise these courses, then they do apply for the funding from World Rugby. But the challenge has been that some of the courses, for one reason or the other, are not held. So you find that the coaches who've put forward their names, and then the course is then not held and then reassigned or rearranged, and then coaches' schedules have clashed. So there are times we've advertised 25 courses and we've only held 6 due to whatever financial constraints there are. So that's one thing that has happened. Now, there are no blocks as far as I'm concerned with level 2 courses. What I know is there are times we've organized courses, for example, for the international schools, where the coaches have had an opportunity, the teachers that have had an opportunity to get accredited for the level 2. So I don't think the perception is accurate that there are blocks. What I think has been the challenge is the communication coming from the TNEA office to coaches across the country on what they must do. So, for example, like what you've just presented in terms of the transcript and what needs to be done. Sometimes coaches have, as Mary has pointed out, sometimes I'm the assistant coach. Can I then get accredited with my level 2? And you've answered that very nicely as well. The biggest challenge has been, unlike in referee, because the referees, match officials are very clear that you will only get certain games or you'll only get to certain levels once you get certain levels of qualification. There has been a big improvement within the coaching fraternity here, that without the accreditation papers, then progressing to certain levels is difficult. And I think that's credit to the TNE office and to the director of Rugby for insisting that accreditation must be a pathway to coaching at higher levels. So my experience has been, I've not seen any blocks where individuals are blocked from attaining level 2 accreditation. What I've seen is that there has been a breakdown in terms of the communication on which courses are available, which courses are not available. Hence, that way there's some coaches who've missed out on opportunities. There's also that running level 2 courses outside Nairobi, because Nairobi has the largest number of clubs, has also been a challenge. So that there are those coaches who in the coast, Western Kenya, and perhaps even as far as Rift Valley, perhaps I've always found it challenging to get accredited for level 2 because of the resources that are available. So I don't know if I've answered that, or if I've not. Then there was also a part question from the chairman, was the experience, isn't it, for educators running coaching courses in the country. I'll only talk about my personal experience. And my personal experience has been that the level 2 is a huge jump from level 1 for the majority of coaches who I have had the opportunity to train. So the level 1 is an attendance course. And then suddenly when you get to level 2, the rubber meets the road. Key factor analysis, functional roles, and what you need to do. So I've been advocating for, and that can we have a Kenyan intermediate course, call it a bridging course, before the level 2. Because what happens is coaches get very disappointed when suddenly you tell them you're not yet competent. And then they ask you, what do I need to do? And then you send them back, and they're actually not able to climb that ladder into getting competent because of the various gaps that exist from the level 1 up to the level 2. So that to me is a request I've made to the educator body, and I'm sure that it's being considered, so that people don't get the disappointment of coming from level 1 into the level 2, and then they find that it's a bridge too far. So that was, I think, the other part of the chairman's question about the experience for those of us.
Okay.
Okay, I would like to add on that, and I believe I tried to answer the question from the chairman about the roadblocks, and I looked at it at the point of view coming from an educator or maybe a trainer, and I said the biggest 2 roadblocks is one, the participants not completing the online prerequisites for their course, and 2, the diary, because believe me, we haven't talked about the diary, which is, I believe, the biggest, because I know for the 2 years, you might find someone, a participant, not submitting his or her diary for assessment. So I'm coming from the educator and trainer point of view. Thank you. And the last bit, Paul, we decided that instead of having an intermediate course in between level 1 and level 2, coming into 2020, we thought of having, excuse me, key factor analysis and functional role analysis as prerequisites for level 1, because that's where I think they normally find it a bit difficult to fathom whatever is coming in for development of skills.
Yeah, and finally, thanks Malik for that. We need to start creating our coaches much earlier, not when they've now retired or now when they're not playing. We need to start developing coaches from high school and inculcating in them the ability to read the game and to coach. Because you find, like in high schools, with the lack of coaches we have in those big rugby schools, the coaches are the 4th formers. So if you could do a level 1, for example, for even all the first teams or even at the Kenya Secondary Sports Association games, then you're going to start creating coaches much earlier. It doesn't mean they stop playing, but it means that they can start developing their coaching and even get their level 2 coaching when they're playing for clubs so that they can go back to the high schools. That way, if they start much earlier, then you can walk them through the journey of level 2 accreditation.
Very true. And at the moment, what we are trying to do is getting, we are getting participants as early as 16 years to attend the level 1s so that they can move in stages.
Yeah. So thank you very much, Paul and Malik, for your input and contribution. Look, level 2, as Paul said, it's demanding in terms of what is expected of the participant. Malik mentioned that there's a diary to be prepared. Remember, looking at the transcript, we are seeing that it is about best practice. So I can't just do whatever I want to do. There's what the educator is looking for as part of best practice. So what I think what lacks, in my opinion, maybe the discipline to go all the way. And once someone is prepared to go all the way, because all these candidates because level 2 is an invitation course. So there's no way you're going to invite somebody who doesn't really qualify in terms of experience and other requirements that are demanded. So what lacks is just a discipline. So once you do your face-to-face, committing your time to prepare your diary, to organize with your educator to meet when both of you are available for assessment, those little things that really count to making you successful or getting you your accreditation. So I wouldn't say there are any blocks. I would think that it's a matter of being organized, being available, and committing to ensuring that you actually get accredited within a reasonable time. I've seen another question from Chairman, decentralized level 2 coaching. I'm imagining, if I'm not wrong, is about having these courses in different parts of the country, if I'm not wrong. And that has been happening. Malik can correct me if I'm wrong, because we have educators all over the country at the moment.
Yes, we have done that, and at the moment we even started off saying that we begin with the Kenya Cup coaches. From there, we move down all the way to high schools, and it's in the process of happening. And post-COVID, that's all I can say for now.
Yeah, Chairman, are we addressing that correctly? Decentralization, is it about moving away from Nairobi, or dealing with different categories of coaches, Kenya Cup, Championship, schools, and so on?
Absolutely, Bosco, because I'm just taking a case of someone like Howard, who's been coaching for many years in Western, and I think now he's at the coast. And there must be other coaches like him. So, and I think many of the level 2s tend to happen around Nairobi. I think 7s is different because we've done courses along the tournaments, and most of the other courses are the entry-level courses, which we've sort of done around the country. But it would be good to have, say, a level 2 in either Kakamega or Kisumu or that area, so that the coaches from that region who have been working for some time it's just easy and convenient for them. We've done a lot of training in Nakuru as well, but I don't think the other regions have had the same benefit.
Okay, yeah. So that's something that has to be considered when the calendar is being drafted. So Malik, I think you will take note of that so that then we don't make it difficult for candidates who are willing, because maybe the course is being held where in a part of the country which they can't access. So I think that would be very, very important. Then you asked, Chairman Steele asked about continuous assessment. How do we ensure that, sorry, I lost that question somewhere, I'd seen it. But anyway, to answer that question, how do we ensure that there's progress within our level 2 coaching workforce? Look, we have said that the union can come up with, actually it exists within World Rugby, but we can implement it. We have to be a bit tough on it, that once you get accredited, after 2 years, you must get a quality assurance. Right now, what Rugby is doing with educators and trainers is after every year, after every 2 years, they're going to do a quality assurance on you. So if you don't appear for that quality assurance session, if you don't deliver a course, then they are going to withdraw your license from delivering courses. So now that tasks the educator to look for opportunities to deliver courses, because if they don't, then they are going to have their licenses withdrawn. So likewise, the union can come up with such a strategy that, look, you have qualified as a level 2, after 2 years or 3 years, it can't go beyond 3 years, would expect you to not receipt the course from beginning to the end because you're already accredited. It's not that you are NYC. What we expect is a quality assurance process. So all you need to do is organize with your educator. They come to your training session or when a game is going on and watch you as you go through your activity and update and say, yeah, you're still within the track. Your quality is still what we expect. So we are going to renew your accreditation. So that would be very important to answer that particular question from the chairman.
I have 2 questions. I don't know if they are appropriate for this forum, but I'll be guided. So for level 3, if you want to be able to proceed to level 3 of coaching, what are the prerequisites? What do you need to do? How, because this one is normally nominated by the union, what do you guys look at to nominate a coach to level 3? How does it work? That's the first question. Then the second one, I came across something on Facebook about some internship about building women coaches. And there's some internship whereby you are being attached to a big club for you to go through that training. So in terms of following up with what the chairman was saying, decentralization, which I'll take it to mean also empowering more women taking up coaching, SNC, referring roles, basically administrative roles. I don't know what plans are there towards that, and if we're already identifying some women who will be attached to this club so that when they come back, we have a very solid base in terms of coaches, basically technical bench.
Okay, thank you, Mary. This is purely, a union affair. So maybe I can just respond about level 3, and then maybe Tio or Malik can respond on your last, the second part of your question. So for level 3, they're always regional courses. So unions are invited to nominate candidates, and the criteria is shared by the regional training manager. And now it's up to the union to look for candidates who qualify, who fit that criteria, and then their names are submitted. And sometimes the training manager says each union to nominate 1, or sometimes 2. So it depends. But at the end of the day, is the union that is going to make that decision depending on who have shown interest. So the information comes to the union shares with the clubs, and then potential candidates are selected from the club. As everything else is competitive, see if you've got 20 qualified and you've been asked for 1, then definitely it's going to be very competitive, and the union will have to make a decision at the end of the day, depending on what options they have available. Malik or Tio, maybe you can answer the one on internship.
Okay, for women, we are looking at their pathway, and this is happening as we speak. We have been having courses directed towards women only, where we are not inviting any men. And going forward with the internship, hasn't happened yet, but we are looking at it. And for the level 3, Mary, it's the union support and the plans they have for that particular coach. So there's no point of sending someone who within a year is not coaching or is outside the country. We are looking at people who can, their pathway, it's leading, their CPD is leading to where they can coach the national teams or at the highest level of league. Thank you.
Good. At this point, I would like to ask, I can see we have on this, this session, we have Michael Otieno, and there was a question that was asked here about the experience of educators and trainers when they're dealing with candidates. And at the same issue, perhaps he can just highlight more on what Paul Odera said about the blocks and his experience, because I know he has trained quite a number of coaches. So he can share with us his experience, and especially on that particular aspect and that attitude that no coaches perceive some blocks that prevent them from actually qualifying to become accredited as level 2 coaches. Tank, if you don't mind, please, you can share with us.
Yeah, thank you, Bosco. First of all, apologies for coming in late. It's only that I forgot that it was 4th of December. Yeah, but at least I've managed to catch up. So apologies for that. Yes, the issue of level 2, from my experience, first of all, as coaches, and I think I'm also talking about myself, we don't generally like documentation. And that documentation is a major part of levels 2 and level 3. So you'll find that candidates come very enthusiastic for the face-to-face. They're usually very enthusiastic and ready to go. And then when they realize that it's not the end, there is a diary, and it's a practical to be done and documentation, then I think there is either, I do not know whether it's fear, or I do not know what it is. Maybe some of the coaches need to tell us. But guys generally just freak out of the fact, or some of them also come in, but they don't even have teams to coach. So I feel that, first of all, one of the major requirements and qualifications for coming into level 2 was that you must be associated with a team first, rather than doing the face-to-face, and then you start looking for a team. So that, I believe, is one of the major issues. So there is the aspect of the diary, and then there is the aspect of looking for a team to coach. Most of them don't have teams by the time coming into level 2 face-to-face. Then I think the other problem is just a matter of follow-up. I remember we did a level 2 with Mali in Nakuru. We had, I think, Moto was there, a couple of guys from Nakuru, yes. And after we did that face-to-face, that was like 2 years ago, there was no follow-up. There was nobody following up. There was no coach coming to ask, yeah, so now I'm ready with Mary, you know, that kind of thing. So I think it's a mixture of all those three. And then I also felt, Bosco, I don't know where you went through the aspects of the coach diary, because that is an area that we also needed to have clarified. So I don't know whether you just went through the transcript or you also covered the coaching diary and what needs to be within that diary.
It was
but at the end of the day, I feel that people should realize that it is not punitive. In fact, once you go through face-to-face, for me, the diary is just a process. If you're somebody who has been coaching, the diary is just a process, and all you need now is to translate your ideas into paper. And that, I believe, is what sometimes puts people off. So as coaches, we have to get rid of that apathy, that thing of not documenting what we do. And once we do that plan, it actually becomes very easy. Thank you very much, Bosco. That would be my contribution on that.
Tank, I just wanted to support you on that in terms of that experience. And coaches, you know, some of us educators have been blacklisted. Ukienda kwa Odera upiti, apparently there's a certain educators who don't pass you, which is not true, because this is a very objective performance through a transcript. my bet is that these courses need a bit of humility, because you could be there with a whistle and be there for 6 or 7 years. But when you put yourself through this process, it exposes a lot of your weaknesses, and it also exposes your strengths. But some of us coaches just like our strengths because of our personalities or egos just being highlighted. But when there's a process that suddenly shakes our weaknesses or exposes our weaknesses, then we take it personally, when it's actually not personal. Because what the weaknesses that are being exposed are through a process, through the transcript, as Bosco had put it. So don't be scared of your weaknesses being exposed. If you're ready to go through that process, you will come out a better coach. And that's what I'd like to add. So that's been my experience through the process.
So thank you, Tank, thank you, Paul. I think participants, you've heard for yourselves from the experts and people who have really been there training coaches. So they really, have seen it all, and they know what you actually require to become accredited. But believe me, it's not something that should scare you. It's something that just needs commitment, and you get it done. So for Tank, to answer you about the diary, mainly we discussed the transcript, but yeah, it's good that you brought up the issue of the diary, and I'm hoping that those who are planning to attend a level 2 will, through Malik, try to get more information about the diary, which I think can be shared even online, and people can update themselves and look into the details of how to successfully prepare a diary. So back to you, Kwambo and Malik.
Bosco, I have a question before you go. Is there a special accommodation for player coaches? If you're playing at the same time you're trying to pursue your level 2, how do you go about that?
Yeah, as I said before, a player who intends or who hopes maybe just along the lines before he retires from rugby, they would like to coach, or they would like to take up a coaching role later in their life, their rugby life, they can actually attend a level 2. It doesn't stop them from playing. They can actually get accredited and continue playing. Whether they will take up a coaching role actively later in their life, it's up to them. But nothing stops anyone, so long as they have the basic qualification, a level 1, some considerable experience or knowledge of the game. For a player, you may not insist that they have a coaching experience, but you may want to know if they have a considerable knowledge about the game. And definitely they will be able to be allowed in a level 2 course, and they work hard enough, they get accredited. So nobody should stop from attending a level 2 course because they are not actively coaching, or they are still active players.
And on that, how do you accommodate
confusion?
Sorry?
Charles, go on first. Let Charles finish.
Okay, I wanted to ask now, if you're actively playing, how do you go about the coach's diary? Because in a session, you are a player and a coach at the same time.
Well, do I ask you, Tank, to respond, please? Are you still with us, Tank? Okay, Paul?
I believe Paul has sent in his apologies.
No, I'm still here. Bosco,
okay.
No, Malik, Bosco caught me as I was out of the door. If you're a player coach, look, there's nothing stops you, because we do understand that sometimes those are the challenges at clubs where you're playing multiple roles. The transcript is very clear. Once you enroll yourself in the level 2, are you able to fulfill on each of those values, your philosophy? Are you able to fulfill on your planning? Are you able to fulfill on preparing equipment? If you can fulfill on the transcript, which took you through each of those stages and each of those levels, then you'll qualify as a coach. So which hat you wear at what time is really entirely up to you. But nothing stops you being an active player, but at the same time pursuing your level 2 coaching accreditation. What you have to remember is you must fulfill on the steps in the transcript. Can you show that you can safely coach the set piece? Can you show that you can safely coach the tackle? Can you show that you can safely coach each of these and still play? If you can fulfill on that, and as a player and as a coach, then why should you not be passed as a level 2 coach? But if in any of those areas you're lacking, and perhaps this is affected by your playing, then you see that there will be a challenge. Chege, does that answer your question?
Maybe I can also add there, Bosco, you also caught me off guard.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, just to build up what Paul has said. Yeah, nothing stops somebody from qualifying as in any, even up to level 3, if you're a player coach. But my experience being a player and coach is that, and maybe I'm traditional, but I believe that as a coach, you need to concentrate on coaching, and as a player, you need to concentrate on playing. Finish your playing and then come into coaching, because both needs 100% concentration. So maybe I'm traditional about it, but I don't really encourage issues of being a player and coaching because you are mixing up roles. But at the end of the day, if you have to do that, nothing stops you qualifying, as per what Paul said. Thanks.
Okay, thank you very much. I can see a question from Oliver Mangeni. For how long should you be attached to a team to get accredited, given some teams are seasonal, and can you get accredited within an age grade team? Well, maybe I can take that one. Look, it's about a process. So once you identify a team that is actively playing in a league or whatever form of competition, then it is only a matter of you fulfilling those parts of the criteria that are required. So if you work hard enough, you can have your level 2 certificate even in a month, because you have done your face-to-face interaction and you've gone out and you've had 2 or 3 sessions that your educator has come to watch you deliver or coach a team that is playing competitively. So it's not a matter of time. The question of time is about what Tank spoke about earlier, where people just attend the face-to-face and then go back and don't really follow up. So if you follow up, then it is a question of fulfilling all the parts of the criteria and you get your accreditation. So if you're dealing with a seasonal team, then that should be in your mind as you seek to be enrolled on a level 2 course. So if I know that my team plays for say 3, 4, 5 months, then I'll plan accordingly that I do my face-to-face early, maybe during the off season, and as the season kicks off, then I'm ready. When I start my coaching, my off-season training, my pre-season training and so on, then I'm ready so that then I can have a couple of sessions available for the educator to come and watch me. So it's about planning. It's all about planning. But then we're not talking about a team that will just play one match and that's all. Maybe a visiting team or something like that. We need a team that is actually in a form of competition. So the other part was, can you use an age grade team? So remember, age grade sometimes comes with some modification in terms of rules. So are they allowed to play contact? Are they allowed full liners? Are they allowed to scrum? So if they are not, if those modifications apply to an age grade team, then we may not use that age grade team, because we need to see that you can successfully coach a tackle and a full contact or without these variations. So if you're choosing a schools team, maybe I think it should be under 19 that may be allowed to play full contact. But beyond that, if you're dealing maybe under 12s, it may be difficult because of some safety issues that have to be included in the way the youngsters play, which may prevent you from achieving the set criteria that has been established through this transcript. I don't know, Oliver, if that is that answers your question. Okay, he says thank you. So back to you, Malik. And
Precisely, it does.
Okay, welcome. Malik
Bosco, yes. Thank you,
yes.
Oliver, for the question, and thank you, Bosco, for the answer. All I can add is, and I believe Bonatan can support and the other educators in, the diary recommends that you fill in 6 games and 6 weeks of training sessions. So if you are coaching a team that is going to play for 6 games, then the educator will be able to come and assess you within 1 game only, or even 2 training sessions. And in case you have some NYC, you can discuss with the educator and progress to whatever it needs to be done for you to get accreditation. So I believe the diary also plays a big part in how long you need to be coaching. Thank you.
Back to you, Kwambo.
There was a question from an educator, Ronald Okoth, who's watching on Facebook Live, and I believe most of them are there. He was saying that most coaches are doing the bit of photocopying, copy-pasting the diary, which is like copy-pasting one session to the following week and everything. So I believe that we can discuss during the diary session on Zoom, which we'll try and see if we can get other presenters to help us demystify the diary itself. The other thing I want to add is I believe most of our coaches, as much as we have discussed about level 2 transcript and whatever needs to be done, they are very comfortable with what they know, the knowledge they have. But I believe the more you improve yourself, the more you're going to improve your team and the people around you. So that's all I can add on that.
Thanks. Kwambo? I think the question of Howard Okwemba, I would recommend that you get in touch with Malik, because it looks like your case is a bit special. So he can guide you on when to resit your level 2. So yeah, just get in touch with Malik after this. I'm sure he'll be able to help you. Kwambo?
Thank you, Bosco. I don't have any further questions from the panel, but just a few comments. There was Duncan Masaria, but he has now left. He's the secretary of the Nakuru County School Sports Association. He says that I wish to take this opportunity to thank KRU, World Rugby educators, for hosting several training level 1 courses in Nakuru County that have appraised referees and coaches. Thanks, Mr. George Ndemi and the educators. We'll mobilize to have more coaches who have done an advanced level 1 course. Going forward, request that we customize tailored level before level 2 based on available calendar diary in KSSA games to see whether teachers and coaches can continue to grow. Thanks, educators. That is Gitau Mashari, Secretary of Nakuru County Secondary Schools Association. But other than that, don't have more comments. I think I'd like to invite the chairman of the Kenya Rugby Union to share some sentiments as well.
Thanks, Kwambo. I don't want to say much. I just want to say on behalf of the union, a big thank you, firstly, to our 2 presenters for today, Peris Mukoko and Johnbosco Muamba, for sharing your thoughts with us. And I think it has been very insightful, I hope, for everyone to just learn through about the process, because it's a great mystery. Every time I talk to coaches, there seems to be a problem when we get to level 2. But I'm also happy with the contributions of Tanko Tieno, who was my coach many years ago and also coached at the national team, and also Paul Odera, just reconfirming that really for you to excel as a coach, but with everything else in life, it's really about your attitude and the approach that you take. There's no one no one benefits if they stand in your way to getting a level 2. So let's be encouraged to continue to pursue the certification, but not just to get certified. It's really for us to implement those practices when we interact with the players and be able to bring up better players. So I also want to just thank all the participants for today's session. And I've seen a great spread of people from across the game. And let's continue these webinars. And I'd propose, Malik, if we can do coaching diaries next week, I think it would be a good follow-on on this one, because again, it's one of those things people talk a lot about, and maybe demystifying it in such a session would be quite helpful. With those comments, thank you very much all. Continue staying safe, and we hope that we'll be able to meet very soon on the pitch. Asanteni sana. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Bwana Chairman. Thank you very much, everybody who took the time to join us today. The presenters, Bosco, Muamba, and Mukoko, the contributions as well from Michael Tanko-Tieno, from Paul as well, and from everybody else who joined us. Thank you, and we will catch up with you again next week for another interactive session. But for now, just want to wish everybody a weekend. Stay safe, and let's continue supporting the game in the ways that we have. Thank you very much, and have a good evening.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Malik. Bye.
Asanteni nyote.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Good weekend.
Asante. Thank you, Malik.
Yes.
Umekuwa